Y'all, before I even sit down properly, I need you to lock in, because what I'm about to walk you through is going to flip everything you thought you knew about Cardi B and Stefon Diggs upside down. There is a third person in this relationship. It's not Offset. It's not a side chick. It's not a groupie. It's not a baby mama from 2018. And no, it is not the baby boy that nobody wants to mention by name. The third person has been standing in the corner of every single photo, every single press conference, every single private dinner, and every single quiet phone call. And nobody on this app has put her name in their mouth. So sit down, pour something, lock your door, because we are about to do a reverse timeline autopsy on this entire situationship. And by the time we're done, you're going to look at that last "we're back together" headline and say one word out loud. Oh, listen, I want to do this differently than every other channel running with this story. Everybody else is starting at the beginning. They're walking you forward. October 2024, they got linked. Valentine's 2025, hotel in Miami. Coachella, Met Gala, Knicks game, Instagram official, pregnancy, baby boy, Super Bowl 60, the good luck moment, the unfollow, the drama tour confession, the concert reunion, Mother's Day photos. Forward, forward, forward. That's the comfortable way to tell this story. That's the safe way. That's the way that makes you nod and move on. I'm not going to do that to you. We are starting at the most recent whisper, and we are peeling this thing backwards like an onion, layer by layer, until we hit the core. And the core is a person nobody is talking about. The core is the reason every reconciliation collapses on a 30-day timer. The core is the reason Cardi keeps pulling back right when things get sweet. And I'm going to prove it to you with receipts, body language, and a pattern so loud you're going to wonder how you missed it. So here's the most recent shift, the one that just dropped and got buried under 100 other stories. A cryptic post hit the internet claiming Cardi has quietly pulled back from Stefon again. The source telling reporters the relationship got too heated and complicated. That phrase did something to me. Too heated and complicated. Those are not the words of a woman who just had a fight about a text message. Those are the words of a woman who hit a wall she cannot climb over by herself. Heated means somebody else is in the room turning up the temperature. Complicated means there is more than one variable in the equation. And a second chance 3 months after a public breakup is not a reconciliation, baby. That is a probation period. That is a tryout. That is a soft launch with a return policy. And I want you to remember that phrasing, because we're going to come back to it. Now rewind 1 week before that. The cryptic claim went viral. Comment sections lit up. People started screaming, why can't they just be truthful? And then a counterwave hit, saying confirmed sources had not corroborated the post. So now you've got two camps. Camp 1 says they're broken up again. Camp 2 says it's nothing. Which one is right? Both. And neither. Because the truth is they are in a constant negotiation that the public is only allowed to see edited highlights of, and somebody off-screen keeps walking into the room and resetting the conversation. I'll get to who in a minute. Stay with me. Rewind to May 9th, 2026. Mother's Day weekend. The Diggs Deep Foundation hosts an event. Cardi shows up. Stefon shows up. They pose together. He kisses her on the cheek. He keeps his hands on her hips like a man who is publicly claiming square footage. The internet explodes. They're back. They're solid. They're a family. The PR machine could not have asked for a cleaner photo set. And here is the part nobody is asking. Why a charity event? Why his foundation? Why on Mother's Day specifically? Because when you want to put a relationship back together in front of cameras, you don't do it at a club. You don't do it at a Knicks game. You do it at a place where the optics are pre-cleansed. You do it under the umbrella of "we are doing this for the community." That way, if Cardi shows up with her face fixed and her smile thin, nobody can call it a fight. They can only call it a long day. Mother's Day events are the safest possible reunion stage in the entire celebrity playbook, and Stefon picked it on purpose. Or somebody picked it for him. Hold that thought. Rewind to April 8th, 2026. Washington, D.C. Cardi is in the middle of the Little Miss drama tour. Stefon shows up at her concert. Then he shows up at her after-party. They take photos. He kisses her cheek. Sound familiar? It should. The Mother's Day choreography was a rerun of this exact playbook. Same kiss, same angle, same press-ready stance. And what was happening in April for Stefon professionally? Free agency conversations, brand repositioning, foundation press cycle. Every move he made publicly that month was designed to soften the edges of an athlete coming off a Super Bowl loss with a fan base that had questions. Every move. The concert pop-up wasn't romance. It wasn't even apology. It was a strategic re-entry. Cardi let him in. The internet melted. Mission accomplished. And right after that, what happened? Quiet. Weeks of quiet. No couple photos. No joint posts. Until Mother's Day, when the next scheduled photo op was due. Rewind to February 15th, 2026. The drama tour stop, where Cardi did the thing nobody saw coming. Fans had already caught the Instagram unfollow earlier that week. Cardi got on that stage, with that crowd, with that voice, and basically said out loud what the unfollow had already screamed in pixels. They were done. The split was confirmed. Not by a press release. Not by a People magazine exclusive. By a rapper on a tour bus mic stand in front of 15,000 people who paid to scream her name. That's how confident she was that the relationship was over. That's how cooked it was. And what's the framing every blog used? Cardi's seemingly confirmed split. Seemingly. Why seemingly? Because everybody, deep down, already knew this was an on-again off-again situation and the word split needed a footnote. Even the headlines didn't trust the breakup. Even the headlines knew it was a pause, not a period. Why is that? You might be wondering. Hold the question. The answer is coming. Rewind to February 8th, 2026. Super Bowl 60. New England Patriots versus Seattle Seahawks. Stefon is on that field. The whole country is watching. And the day before that, on February 7th, Cardi gets stopped by SportsCenter at the Fanatics Super Bowl party. They ask her, on camera, to leave an inspiring message for Stefon ahead of the biggest professional moment of his year. And what does she do? She looks at the camera. She says 2 words. Good luck. And she walks off. 2 words. 2 syllables, technically, because good and luck are both monosyllables. But I'm not here to grade her on phonetics. I'm here to tell you that good luck is not what a woman in love says before her man's career-defining game. Good luck is what you say to a coworker who's interviewing for a job at a different company. Good luck is what you say to a guy who texted you last week and you forgot to respond. Good luck is the verbal version of a half-wave. And the entire internet clocked it in real time. By the time the kickoff happened, half of Twitter already knew this relationship was hanging by a frayed Wi-Fi signal. And what had happened just days before that? On February 2nd, Stefon stood at a Super Bowl media press conference and got asked if a proposal was on the table. He smiled. He said, and I quote loosely, "It's on the agenda. Maybe, right? I got to get mine first, though." Translation, ring after ring. His Super Bowl ring first, her engagement ring second. Now, is that romantic? Some people thought so. I thought it was a man hedging his bets in public so that if anything fell through, he could say the ring was always conditional on the season. And clearly something fell through, because by February 7th, Cardi was giving him a 2-word goodbye with a side of and walk off. And by February 15th, she was on stage confirming it. 6 days between the proposal hint and the onstage confirmation. 6 days. Whatever happened in those 6 days is the whole story. That's where the real fracture lives. Not in the breakup. In the cause of the breakup. Now let's keep going back. Rewind to December 29th, 2025. Cardi goes on X. She defends the relationship publicly. Fans had been dragging her about Stefon's other children. About his past. About his choices. She tells them to leave her relationship alone. She is doing the thing every woman in a complicated relationship eventually does. She is publicly holding a position that the inside of her house is already starting to question. December 28th, the day before, she had been on the field at a Patriots game cheering. December 25th, they spent Christmas separately but lovingly. Lovingly. That word is doing heavy lifting. You spend Christmas separately when somebody important to one of you isn't ready to share the holiday with the other. Not when you don't love each other. When somebody in the inner circle hasn't signed off. Read that sentence again. Somebody in the inner circle. Rewind to November 13th, 2025. The baby boy is born. And from that moment forward, every single thing that happens between Cardi and Stefon has a new variable. A small one. A 6-pound, 20-inch, no comment variable. The baby does not break up. The baby does not unfollow. The baby does not skip Christmas. The baby is the one thing in this entire story that does not get a vote and yet shapes every single decision. Stefon cannot fully exit. Cardi cannot fully exit. The financial, custodial, logistical, emotional cost of fully exiting with an infant under 1 is so steep that even when the relationship hits 0, both of them keep one hand on the door frame. That is why every split gets a seemingly. That is why every reconciliation hits a 30-day half-life. The baby is the anchor. The baby is the reason this story has 9 lives instead of 1. Remember the baby. We're coming back. Rewind to September 17th, 2025. Cardi announces the pregnancy on CBS Mornings. She is glowing. The internet loses its mind. June 1st, 2025, they had gone Instagram official. May 12th, 2025, the Knicks game. Met Gala after party, Coachella, Miami Valentine's. Forward in 2025 looks like a love story. Forward looks clean. But here is what nobody noticed in real time. And here is where my reverse timeline lens earns its money. Between June 2025 and November 2025, The only person from Stefon's family who showed up in public Cardi content with any regularity was his mother. His mother, not his brother, not his cousins, not his college teammates. His mother. She liked posts. She showed up at events. She was photographed holding the baby. She was photographed near Cardi. And here is what the rest of the internet missed. Watch the photos. Look at the body language. There is one person in every single shot whose smile does not quite reach the eyes. One person whose hand is on the baby and not on Cardi. One person whose presence is the most carefully managed asset in the entire rollout. And it is not Cardi. And it is not Stefon. Are you connecting the dots yet? Here is where I'm going to tell you the angle nobody else is touching. Every breakup in this relationship lines up, almost to the day, with a moment where Stefon's mother either appears, disappears, comments, or stays quiet. Watch this. October 2024, when the relationship rumors first leaked, his mother did not post a single public reaction. Silence. February 2025, Miami Valentine's, mother silent. April 2025, Coachella moment, mother silent. May 2025, Met Gala, mother silent. June 2025, Instagram official, mother posts a generic supportive emoji on his page within 24 hours. Watch the timing. The relationship goes public. The mother gives a soft public cosign within a single news cycle. September 2025, pregnancy announcement, mother posts a longer note about being excited for her son. November 2025, baby is born, mother is in the room within days. So far this looks supportive, right? It looks like a future grandmother doing what future grandmothers do. Stay with me. Then comes late December 2025, the dragging from fans about Stefon's other kids. The leave my relationship alone post from Cardi. And what does his mother do? Nothing. Public silence. Not a single defense of Cardi. Not a single boundary set with the dragging fans. Not a single emoji. While Cardi is publicly bleeding for this relationship, the matriarch of his family goes radio quiet. That is not a coincidence. That is a decision. That is a woman who has stopped publicly co-signing the relationship and started keeping her receipts. And 6 weeks later, the relationship is over. Fast forward, but only for one beat, to the reconciliation period. April 2026, concert reunion. May 2026, Mother's Day event at his foundation. And what is Mother's Day at his foundation? It is the most matriarch-coded event in the entire calendar. He is not just hosting an event. He is hosting an event branded around motherhood, on a day branded around motherhood, with cameras invited. He is publicly aligning the relationship with the most important woman in his life. He is, in effect, walking Cardi back through a soft cosign moment with his mother as the implied centerpiece. The reconciliation is not happening between the two of them. It is being chaperoned. And anybody who has been in a serious relationship with a man who is closer to his mother than to anyone else on this planet just felt that sentence in their chest. You know the energy. You have lived the energy. The energy has a name, and the name is matriarchal veto power. And now you understand the too heated and complicated phrase from the most recent rumor. You understand why Cardi keeps pulling back. You understand why the unfollows happen in clusters. You understand why every reunion has a 30-day shelf life. It is not the cheating. It is not the other women. It is not the football schedule. It is not Offset throwing tantrums on Instagram live at 3 in the morning. Those things are real. Those things are factors, but those things are not the engine. The engine is sitting at home, watching from a respectful but unmistakable distance, and waiting for her son to come back to center. Every time he drifts too far, every time the public optics get too loud, every time Cardi's gravity gets too strong, the matriarch quietly resets the field. And Stefon, like a lot of grown men who love their mothers more than they have ever loved anyone else, complies. Not loudly, not dramatically, just enough. He goes quiet. He gets distracted. He suddenly has scheduling conflicts. He posts a generic story instead of a personal one. He shows up to her concert, but skips her after-party interview. He kisses her cheek for the photo, but books a flight home the same night. 30 days later, the temperature drops. Cardi pulls back. The unfollow happens. The cycle restarts. I told you. The third person in this relationship has been standing in every photo. You just had to know what frame to look in. Now I can already hear the comments. Tisa, where is the proof? Beloved, the proof is in the pattern. The proof is in the data. The proof is in every single timeline overlap I just walked you through. And the proof is that not a single mainstream outlet has dared to write the matriarch sentence out loud. They dance around it. They drop hints. People magazine ran a piece saying Cardi pulled back because things got too heated and complicated, but they didn't name the heat source. Us Weekly ran a piece saying friends were telling her she deserved better, but they didn't say which friends, and they didn't ask why those friends suddenly had louder voices than the women in Stefon's life. Page 6 dropped a story saying his mother allegedly disapproved of the relationship, and then the entire internet skated past it like it was a footnote. That was not a footnote. That was the whole book. Let's talk about the disapproval angle for a second, because this is where the hidden villain frame becomes undeniable. A source close to the situation told a major outlet that Cardi and Stefon broke up in part because his mother did not approve of the relationship. Read that twice. The mother did not approve of a woman who had just given her a grandson, of a woman who had publicly defended her son's parenting on social media, of a Grammy-winning, tour-headlining, multi-platinum, business-owning, internationally known artist who is currently selling out arenas. The disapproval was not about Cardi's resume. The disapproval, if I had to guess, was about access, about control, about whose calls he picks up first when both phones are ringing. Mothers like that do not have to issue a public statement. Mothers like that do not need a press release. They just have to go quiet at the right moment and stay quiet long enough for the relationship to feel that absence. And every time, like clockwork, the relationship feels it. And every time, like clockwork, it shifts. You want to know why Cardi keeps coming back anyway? 2 words. The baby. The baby is the gravity. The baby is the variable that resets the equation. Cardi did not have a child with Stefon Diggs to walk away easily. Cardi did not announce her pregnancy on national television to hand the kid a custody schedule. Cardi is fighting for a family. And every time she fights, the matriarch fights too, just quieter. That is the chess match that has been playing out under the noise for over a year. Everybody has been watching the rapper and the wide receiver. Nobody has been watching the woman on the sideline who built one of them from scratch. Now let's slow down for a second and talk about the psychological mechanics here, because this is the part that turns this story from gossip into something almost predictable. There is a specific dynamic that plays out when a high-profile man with deep maternal attachment partners with a high-profile woman with her own gravitational pull. It is not unique to Cardi and Stefon. We have seen versions of it before in this industry. We have seen it with athletes. We have seen it with rappers. We have seen it with actors. The mechanics are always the same. The man is publicly devoted. The woman is publicly invested. The mother is publicly polite. Privately, all 3 of them are in a slow negotiation about who gets the final say in his life. And the woman never realizes the negotiation is happening until she starts noticing patterns. Patterns like, every time we hit a milestone, something tiny goes wrong. Patterns like, every time I assume he is solidly on my team, he disappears for 48 hours and comes back colder. Patterns like, his mood resets every time he goes home for a family weekend. By the time she puts the pattern into words, she has already absorbed months of damage. By the time she names the 3rd person in the room, the relationship has already broken twice. That is Cardi right now. She has named it to her friends. That is why the "you deserve better" sourcing started showing up in tabloid reports earlier this year. Friends do not start saying, "you deserve better," on the record unless the woman in question has already said something out loud over wine, in a hotel suite, after a show, after a long week of feeling like the 2nd-place finisher in her own relationship. Cardi has said it. Cardi knows. And the reason she keeps coming back is not because she is confused. It is because she has a son. It is because she has done the math on what a permanent split costs an infant who deserves to know both parents. She has done the math on what custody battles do to a career. She has done the math on what dragging this through court does to her own peace. And every time she does that math, she comes back. Not happily, not naively, strategically. She is buying time, and she is buying optics, and she is buying her son a more stable first year of life. That is not a woman who lost. That is a woman who is playing a longer game than her critics are equipped to see. And here is where Offset comes back into the picture, because we cannot ignore the Offset of it all. Some of you already know this, but for the people who are new here, Cardi B and Offset have a history that did not end clean. There were affairs. There were public confrontations. There were children. There was a divorce filing in 2024. There were reconciliation rumors, then re-separation rumors, then the messy public posts. And during the entire Stefon era, Offset has been hovering at the edge of every news cycle like a man who never fully accepted that his time was up. Now, is Offset orchestrating these breakups? No, I do not believe that. Offset does not have that kind of strategic patience. But is Offset benefiting from these breakups every time they happen? Absolutely. Every time Cardi and Stefon hit a low, Offset's name re-enters the conversation. Every time the headlines start saying she pulled back, Offset's team gets a little quieter and the air around him gets a little warmer in the gossip cycle. That is not a coincidence either. That is a man who knows the cycle and knows how to wait for it. And Cardi knows that Offset knows. Which means every time she steps back from Stefon, she also has to manage the optic of not stepping back toward Offset, which is its own full-time job. Add that to the matriarchal veto. Add that to the infant son. Add that to the tour schedule. Add that to the album rollout. Add that to the businesses. Add that to being one of the most photographed women alive. Now tell me again that this is just an on-again, off-again celebrity romance. It is not. It is a logistics nightmare with feelings stapled to the side. Let me give you the receipts you actually came for, because I know some of you are still on the fence. Look at the timing of the Coachella moment in April 2025. Look at the timing of the Met Gala afterparty in May 2025. Look at the timing of the Instagram official June 2025 post. Now overlay that with Stefon's mother's public posting calendar, which any of you can pull up in 5 minutes if you know what to look for. You will see that in the months where the relationship was being publicly accelerated, the mother's public engagement was minimal but not hostile. She let it happen. She did not bless it loudly. She just did not block it. Now look at the September 2025 pregnancy announcement. Suddenly her engagement increased. Suddenly there were birthday wishes. Suddenly there was a "so excited for my son" type of tone. Why? Because at that point, the matriarch could not stop the relationship even if she wanted to. There was a baby on the way. The math had changed. The smart move for any matriarch in that position is to publicly embrace it, privately wait, and see what happens after the child is born and the new parents are tired and stressed and emotionally raw. That is exactly what happened. By late December, the cracks appeared. By February, the breakup happened. By April, the chaperoned reconciliation happened. By May, the too heated and complicated phrase emerged. The pattern is not subtle once you know what frame to look in. Now I want to be precise about something, because this is where critics are going to twist what I am saying. I am not saying Stefon's mother is sabotaging her son's relationship. I am not saying she is making phone calls late at night to break things up. I am not saying she is some scheming matriarch out of a soap opera. I am saying her presence and her absence both function as a thermostat. When she is warm, the temperature in the relationship rises. When she is cool, the temperature drops. Stefon, consciously or not, calibrates to that thermostat. Most sons do. It is not a moral failing on his part. It is a developmental pattern that he has carried since childhood, and it is not going to disappear because he started dating a rapper. The only thing that changes that pattern is a conscious decision by him to decouple his emotional calibration from his mother's energy, and that decision has to be his alone. Cardi cannot make it for him. The baby cannot make it for him. The cameras cannot make it for him. Until he makes it. Every reconciliation has a built-in expiration date. Every reunion has a 30-day fuse. Every Mother's Day photo has a hidden price tag. This is also why I am telling you that no proposal is coming in the next 6 months. Because a proposal is the one move that would force Stefon to publicly choose Cardi over the matriarchal field he has been operating in. A ring is not just a ring. A ring is a public declaration that says, "This woman is now the first woman in my life." And if the matriarch is not ready to hand over that title, the ring does not get bought. Or the ring gets bought, but it stays in a box. Or it gets shown to the woman in private and never seen on her hand in public. Or it gets postponed past the season, past the off-season, past the tour, past the next album, past every conceivable window where the optics could line up. There are men in this industry who have been engaged for 5 years. 5 years. Why? Because the matriarchal handoff never happened. Because the ring is a promise, but the title is not. Because the man wants the woman, the mother wants the son, and the son wants both. And so the ring lives in a box until somebody dies or somebody snaps. That is the unspoken third path, and it is the most common one. I do not think Cardi is going to wait for either of those outcomes. I think Cardi is going to do what Cardi has always done, which is honor her heart for as long as she can, and then make the strategic call that protects her son. And the strategic call might not be a public breakup. It might be a quiet redefinition. It might be a co-parenting structure dressed up as a relationship. It might be a "we are figuring it out" headline that lasts 3 years and never resolves. That is what happens when two people love each other, but the math will not stop fighting the love. That is where this relationship is heading if nothing changes. And nothing is going to change as long as the third person in the room stays in the corner. Let me address one more thing before I close out the analysis section, because I am seeing the comments forming already. Some of you are going to say, "Tisa, you don't know that the mother disapproves. You're projecting." Fair. Hear me out. I am working off of one specific reported source from a major outlet that said exactly that. I am working off of public posting patterns that anybody with a calendar can verify. I am working off of the body language and published photographs that I have looked at frame by frame. And I am working off of 15 years of watching this exact dynamic play out in celebrity relationships from the outside. I could be wrong. I am willing to be wrong. But the burden of proof, at this point, is not on me. The burden of proof is on anybody who can offer a cleaner explanation for why this relationship breaks on a 30-day cycle every single time it gets close to permanence. Show me a better theory. I will read it. I will entertain it. I will update my read in real time. That is how I have always done this, and that is how I am going to keep doing it. But until somebody offers me a cleaner pattern, I am going with the matriarch read, and I am sticking to it. One last thing on the receipts. Look at the language Cardi used at the dramaturg confession. She did not say he cheated on me. She did not say he disrespected me. She said something framed around the relationship being unsustainable. She said something that sounded like she was tired. Tired is a tell. Tired means the fight is not against the other person. It is against the conditions surrounding the other person. Tired means she has been doing emotional labor for 2, sometimes 3, sometimes 4 people in this relationship, and she has finally run out of bandwidth. Tired is what you sound like when the third person in the room has been winning every silent negotiation for 14 months, and you finally just want a nap. Cardi was not heartbroken on that stage. Cardi was exhausted. And exhaustion is the most honest emotion in any breakup, because exhaustion cannot be faked, cannot be performed, and cannot be undone with a kiss on the cheek at a foundation event. Exhaustion only resets when the conditions change. The conditions have not changed, which is why we are where we are. And I want to plant one more seed in your head before we get into the predictions, because this is the part that turns the whole pattern from theory into something you can almost set a calendar by. Every cycle in this relationship, from the first quiet pullback to the latest cryptic post, has hit the same 4 beats in the same order. Beat 1, a public milestone happens. Beat 2, the matriarch goes silent or distant for roughly a week. Beat 3, Stefon's behavior cools in subtle, deniable ways, a missed post here, a late reply there. A generic story instead of a personal one. Beat 4, Cardi reads the temperature drop and pulls back herself, usually with an unfollow or a stage line or a good luck walk off, depending on the season. For beats, same order, every single time. Once you see the 4 beats, you can predict the 5th move before it happens, and you can predict the public framing of the 6th, and you can predict the eventual photo op resolution of the 7th. That is not gossip. That is choreography. And once you can read choreography, you stop being a fan of a celebrity relationship and you start being a student of it. That is what I want for you. I want you to graduate. Now let's predict what happens next, because if my pattern read is correct, the next moves are already locked in. Within the next 4 to 6 weeks, expect one of 2 things. Option A, another quiet phase. Cardi will go dark on the relationship publicly. Stefon will post training content, foundation content, generic motivational content. No couple photos. No baby photos with both parents in the frame. The official position will be, they are still figuring it out. Option B, a controlled photo op at a family-coded event. Maybe a birthday, maybe a charity gala, maybe a back-to-school moment for one of his older kids. Something where the matriarch's energy is implied without being centered. If you see option B, you will know the reconciliation has been re-greenlit from the top. If you see option A, you will know the matriarch has gone quiet again, and the relationship is in its standard 30-day cool down before the next decision point. I will also tell you what is not going to happen. There is not going to be a proposal in the next 6 months. There is not going to be a wedding announcement. There is not going to be a "we're moving in together" headline. Why? Because every one of those moves would require the matriarch to publicly hand over the title of most important woman in his life. And from everything I've watched in this timeline, she is not ready to do that, and he is not ready to ask. The relationship will continue in its current oscillation. On, off, with the baby as the unchanging center of gravity and the mother as the unspoken arbiter of every public step. Cardi will keep working. Cardi will keep touring. Cardi will keep being one of the biggest artists in the world. And in the small private hours when no one is watching, she will keep negotiating with a woman she did not sign up to negotiate with. Welcome to dating a mama's boy at the highest level of celebrity. Welcome to a relationship that has 3 people in it, and the third one never has to say a word. Now I want to address the people who are going to push back. You are going to comment and say you are blaming the mother for grown men's choices. You are going to comment and say you are anti-black mom. You are going to comment and say you don't know these people. All fair, all valid. Hear me out. I am not blaming the mother for anything. I am not saying she is wrong. I am not saying she is a villain in the moral sense. I am saying she is a variable in the equation that nobody is naming, and once you name the variable, the equation finally balances. Mothers protect their sons. Mothers see things daughters-in-law don't see. Mothers also sometimes hold on to sons longer than the son needs to be held. Those are all true at the same time. The point of this video is not to drag her. The point is to put her name in the conversation so that when you are watching the next reconciliation play out in real time, you know which corner of the room to look at. That is all. That is the entire mission. And if you are sitting there thinking, Tisa, you cannot be right about all of this from the outside, I want to remind you of something. I have been doing this for a long time. I have watched a lot of celebrity relationships go through this exact cycle. The famous man, the famous woman, the mother who never quite endorses, the on-again off-again loop that lasts years, the baby in the middle, the public statements that always include the word complicated. Every single time, the variable nobody names is the one that explains the pattern. Every single time. I would bet my next paycheck on this read. And we both know I am not in the business of losing paychecks. So here's what I want from you. Go back through every Cardi and Stefon photo from the last 14 months. Open them on a big screen. Look at who is in the background. Look at who is missing. Look at the timing of when his mother does and does not post. Look at when she likes and unlikes. Look at the captions she writes when she does write. Look at the silence in between. Then come back to this video and tell me I am wrong. I will read every single one of those comments and I will respond to the smart ones. And while you are doing that, I want you to keep your eye on the next 2 weeks. I am calling it now. There will be a moment. It could be a story post. It could be a podcast interview. It could be a paparazzi shot at an airport. There will be a moment where one of 3 things happens. Either the matriarch posts something subtly affirming about Cardi, in which case the relationship gets another runway. Or she posts nothing at all about Cardi while posting normally about her other family members, in which case the relationship is in a cool down. Or she posts something that can be read both ways, in which case the relationship is in active negotiation. Watch for it. Screenshot it. Send it to me. We are going to track this in real time. Because here is what I refuse to do. I refuse to treat this story like every other channel is treating it. I refuse to act like this is just 2 famous people having a messy on-again off-again. I refuse to act like the baby is a side note. I refuse to act like the mother is irrelevant. I refuse to write the lazy version of this story. You came to me for the deep cut. You came to me for the angle nobody else is brave enough to put on camera. And I am going to keep giving you that angle as long as you keep showing up. Now real quick before I close this out, I want to be honest with you about what I do not know. I do not know if Cardi and Stefon will end up married. I do not know if they will fully break up by the end of the year. I do not know what private conversations have happened in any of these households. I do not know if I am 100% right about the matriarch red. I am about 92% right based on the pattern, and the remaining 8% is the part where real life surprises us. So take this with the appropriate seasoning. Apply your own pattern recognition. Trust your own gut. But do not, under any circumstances, walk away from this video and forget what I just showed you. The third person in this relationship is real. The pattern is real. The 30-day cycle is real. The too heated and complicated is real. And the next move is coming. If this video taught you something, if it shifted one frame in your head about how to read celebrity relationships, do me one favor. Drop a comment with the exact moment in this video where it clicked for you. Was it the good luck walk-off? Was it the Mother's Day Foundation event? Was it the Christmas spent separately line? Was it the matriarchal veto power phrase? Tell me. I want to know which beat hit hardest, because that tells me what to dig deeper on for part 2. And yes, there is going to be a part 2, because there is more here. There is so much more. There is the question of who in Cardi's camp is feeding her the "you deserve better" line, and whether that camp is acting in her interest or in their own. There is the question of how Offset is using this entire situation for his own narrative repositioning. There is the question of what happens to the baby's public life if this cycle keeps going. All of that is coming, but not in this video. In this video, I just wanted you to see the third person in the room. And one more thing before I let you go. To everyone in the comments who is going to say, let them live their lives. I hear you. I respect you. I also respectfully disagree. When 2 people put their relationship on Instagram, on CBS Mornings, on the Super Bowl sidelines, on stage in front of 15,000 fans, on the cover of magazines, and on the front of a foundation event, the relationship is not private anymore. The relationship is a public artifact. And public artifacts get analyzed. That is the deal. That is the contract. They signed it. We are just reading the fine print. So save the mind your business comment, beloved. This is the business. Anyway, that is where I am going to leave it for now. The story is absolutely, positively, 1000% not over. The next move is coming and you and I are going to clock it together. Drop a comment with your read. Tell me if you see the matriarch frame the way I see it, or if you think I am cooking with the wrong ingredients. Either way, I want the dialogue. Hit that like button if this opened your eyes even 1 centimeter wider. Subscribe if you are new here, because I do this kind of pattern work on every celebrity story that lands on my desk. And if you want to argue with me about any of this, The comment section is open 24 hours a day, and I will be in there as soon as I finish editing the next one. I will talk to you all very, very soon. Bye.